The children are back at school, the air is crisp, and the cooler days on the horizon comes as the year's most talked about real estate market. We're talking about that today. So whether fall has you looking to sell, considering jumping into the market for the first time, let's get a national picture on the fall housing market from real estate expert Erica Reddy, who is joining us this morning. It's always good to see you.
Great to see you.
Okay, so give us the overall picture. What does the market look like across the country?
So generally speaking, if we're looking at Canada-wide, the market is predominantly quite stagnant. We're just seeing a lot of, various people trying to kind of figure it out. We're trying to get buyers get their feet underneath them, sellers figure out what they should be doing. We've got a lot of movement with interest rates and policies. And so stagnant is kind of the word that I would put for Canada-wide.
Okay, so let's talk about some specifics, because obviously you mentioned rate cuts. Everybody's watching the mortgage rates. Some people are just sort of waiting to see how much further we can go down based on what the Bank of Canada says this month as well. So tell us a little bit about how that's impacting the market.
Definitely. So we've had 3 consecutive rate cuts, which is fantastic. I mean, we've been waiting for these rate cuts. And consumers are definitely starting to feel, I would say, a little bit more optimism when it comes to getting into the market and getting off the sidelines, because we've had a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines and a lot of people just unsure. And so the rate cuts, coupled with now some additional government changes with insured mortgages and amortization, I think we're starting to finally see the confidence coming back in the buyers.
It almost feels like the buffet is being set. We're just waiting for people to get there, right? They're
Absolutely.
waiting to see what their options are. What about pricing? People love to talk about house prices, if they're selling, if they're buying, where are we at?
Definitely. So, I mean, I guess we can kind of, the soundbite earlier of stagnant probably ties well into softening. We've definitely seen a softening of prices across Canada, and I don't think this is terrible. We've definitely seen a dip in, I would say the larger cities, the larger provinces, and just an overall slowdown in sales. But that is okay. We needed to see a little bit of this kind of reshuffle within the marketplace.
I think that's important to mention too, Erica, because so many times we get like the headline, right? Which is, sales are down, or, all of that stuff, without really taking the bigger picture into consideration and historical trends. This is not an unusual position to be in, I would think, after certain cuts, if the rates are going up and we're seeing this kind of pattern that we've seen before. It's not new.
Exactly, and I think you make such a good point. This, if we look at a larger picture, this, frankly, I think is quite healthy within the trend line. But the problem is we sometimes lose that trend line, and therefore people can kind of look and go softening, stagnant. Oh my gosh, these headlines are awful. They're not that bad.
For those looking for a home right now, what do they need to consider?
So I would say if you're a buyer, now's the time to get off the sidelines. I mean, we're seeing all the momentum of the rates, and the more people get off the sidelines, the more competitive it actually ends up getting. So now's a really good time to get in before everybody else realizes it's the right time.
And what about for sellers? What would you say?
Sellers, I mean, listen, the buyers are coming. They're starting to come out of the woodworks. Also, really understand your micro market, because as we've talked, Canada at large is huge. Your specific market might actually be operating differently than another market. So really understand the market segment that you're in.
What can you do to maximize your potential here if you're selling?
I mean, I always say, make sure you've got everything checked off. Make sure you've got your process from start to finish, prep work, pricing, everything in place, because that's going to really make you shine in this market.
Some people are like, well, I don't want to stage. What would you say to that?
Definitely stage. Definitely stage.
Because what does that do for people? Because often people say, okay, I'm going to stage my place, but it's an unrealistic view of what my house really looks like. But you're kind of selling the idea.
100%. You're really, at the end of the day, you're selling this emotional attachment. You're selling, the vision that someone's going to have when they walk into your home. And I think what's most important, especially in a bit of a trickier market, is ensuring that you have not left a stone unturned. And staging is one of those really critical ones, especially when things get a bit tougher, that you never want to leave out.
Speaking of stones, always important to remember to stage the outside of your house too. Yes, exactly.
Never stop at the inside.
That's
the curb appeal is the first impression. I always say to people, like, you drive up and that's what people see. So lights on, curb, paint, potted plants, everything. Don't forget.
Yes, Erica Reddy, always good to see you. Thanks for those tips.
Thank you.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.